Hello, I'm Andrew Pritchard, and thank you for watching today's Canada Regional Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, I love starting off the day looking at the satellite picture, so we'll do that here as the sun rises on Tuesday morning, that light getting about halfway across the continent before the loop ends. We see this gorgeous storm system wrapping up here. This brought precipitation to the area over the weekend, doing its thing now over Ontario and Quebec. We're really watching this system now trying to push ashore off to the west on the left-hand side of the screen. And that's going to be bringing more rain and storms to parts of the Canadian prairies and even some severe weather, which I would say is probably the biggest thing that we need to talk about over the next few days. Looking at the radar, what's going on underneath some of those clouds, we do have some showers and storms making our way across parts of the prairies here, across parts of central Alberta here between Grande Prairie and Edmonton. We've got some showers going on, a couple of showers and storms north of Saskatoon as well, and then isolated activity off to the south. It's going to be in this region here that we watch for some stronger storms, maybe a little bit further to the north as we head through the afternoon and evening hours today. Looking at the jet stream here on Tuesday morning again, we see this broad ridge over the western United States with an active storm track sneaking up over the top of that. We've got these little troughs embedded within the flow, and again, those continue to follow the flow up and over the top of that ridge through the Canadian prairies and then off towards the Great Lakes of the United States. That's kept us hot and quiet for the most part across the western half of the U.S., and it's kept things very active here across the Canadian prairies. Now, if we take this out to the first couple of days of August, we see a really similar picture. This ridge is going to really hold on, this area of high pressure, and that keeps things a little bit active or a little unsettled off to the north across the Canadian prairies, keeping systems kind of sneaking up and over the top of that, at least through the next 5 to 6 days before we have a bit of a shift in the flow. Looking at a snapshot look at the temperature forecast here for the next 10 days, temperature anomalies, the first 5 days on the left and the 5 days that follow that on the right. It's a bit tricky here because we do have some fluctuations going on right now. So over the next 5 days, overall looking at warmer temperatures across a big chunk of the Canadian prairies, but we're shifting towards a cooler pattern as we head into the weekend and then early next week. That's reflected a bit by the image on the right here, closer to normal on the temperature anomaly spectrum, but there's some cooler anomalies mixed in on the early part of that. So the maps don't do a great job of telling a story, which is of course why I'm here, and we'll go through that here in just a minute. Just taking a snapshot look here. The week 1 and week 2 precipitation anomalies. This has a pretty good handle on things this week, keeping things more active across the northern half here, drier off to the south across southern Alberta, southern Saskatchewan, but not dry overall, or not dry entirely. It's going to be more of an isolated precipitation nature down there, isolated thunderstorms sneaking through. So some folks will get some downpours across southern Alberta, southern Saskatchewan, but heavier precipitation certainly off to the north there. And then some weather anomalies off to across central and southern Manitoba. So as we talk about the southern prairies, probably the best chance for precipitation is going to be over towards southern Manitoba into southeastern Saskatchewan. Week 2, we will talk about this. The jet stream kind of flattens out a bit, and that's going to allow for an active storm track potentially here from the southern prairies into the northern plains and parts of the Corn Belt in the United States. Now, my confidence is low on that one. Confidence is good. We can draw an up arrow there. High confidence on the week 1 pattern, low confidence on the week 2 pattern. So I'm just showing you a snapshot view here, but we are going to really focus on the week 1 evolution here in this video. Now, as we play this loop out, we're looking at the jet stream, or the 500 millibar height anomalies here, and this allows us to kind of see the overall pattern. Again, the ridge here of the western United States, you see that, and then you see the storm systems kind of sneaking through along and over the top of that, keeping things active at least over the next 5 to 6 days here across the Canadian prairie region. Now, temperatures, this is where I said it's a bit complicated. It doesn't really, the story is not told by looking at static images in a pattern such as this. So as we begin, we've got some warmer anomalies here in advance of the next approaching system here across a big chunk of the southern prairies, at least central and southern, near average to slightly warmer than average as we head through the remainder of the week, with bigger heat building in here as we get to the back of the weekend. So Friday and Saturday are going to be quite warm across the Canadian prairies. Then, as we get into the back half of the weekend, so now we're talking about late Saturday getting into Sunday and Monday of next week, we see cooler temperatures swinging in on the back side of this upper level trough, bringing in cooler anomalies across the entire prairie region by the time we get into early next week. This is looking at Monday right now. Taking this out a bit further, we do see those cooler temperature anomalies hold on for a couple of days before warmth potentially builds in, but as we get beyond 7 days into the future, confidence gets a little shaky on the evolution here. But there you go. Just kind of showing you how we've got warmer temperature anomalies kind of holding on here through the rest of the work week. But as we get into the weekend, especially into earlier next week, starting to see some cooler temperatures settle in over the Canadian prairies. Now, the bigger story again is going to be the upper level system passing through here that brings the cooler temperatures, brings the warmth, and the warmth coming with an unstable air mass, coupled with a powerful trough coming into the region. So we're going to have several days of potential severe weather across the Canadian prairies as it's this system. You see the strong jet stream winds in there. We look for patches of strong upper level flow, fast upper level jet stream winds over the top of an unstable, a warm and humid air mass. And that's the combination that leads to organized severe weather. As we head through the weekend, though, we start to see the flow reverse. We see this trough moving off and out of the picture now. And on the backside, we've got northwest flow within the jet stream, and that's going to be bringing in that cooler air mass, that cooler and less humid air mass into the region. Again, bringing a little bit of a mix-up into the region. So what I want to do next, talking about the severe weather threat, because again, this is, I think, going to be the bigger story over the next few days, is going to be the chance for several days of repeated organized severe storms across parts of the prairie region. So on the left, we're looking at instability. This is the energy or the fuel that drives these thunderstorms. We look for pockets of higher instability. Again, that's the fuel for the storms. And then on the right side, the jet stream winds at 500 millibars. We look for the instability. Beneath, strong upper level wind flow. That's what takes these storms, the instability helps them erupt, but it's the upper level winds that help give these storms longevity and increased severity. So, one without the other can lead to storms, but when we get the two of them combined, that's when we really have to talk about organized severe storms. I'm a severe weather guy, so I could talk about it forever. Let's go ahead and just kind of jump into the forecast, though, and kind of outline the areas that I'm watching. As we talk about Tuesday, we're kind of watching central and southern Saskatchewan into portions of central Alberta. It's going to be this kind of region right in here that I'm most concerned about for some strong to severe storms as we look at kind of the low-ish instability, talking about, between 1,000 to 1,700 joules, which is, again, it's not nothing, but it's not extreme instability this time of year. But then you look over to the right, we've got underneath the patch of the leading edge of this upper level wave starting to move into the region. So as we talk about the day, Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, outlining an area like this where I'm concerned about severe storms heading through the afternoon and evening. Now we take the drawing off there. Let's head into Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. We see kind of this first wave moving off to the east. Highest instability now across parts of southeastern Saskatchewan, getting into southern Manitoba. So during the day, Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, really outlining this area here beneath this patch of stronger jet stream winds pushing into the region. So this would be my Wednesday area of concern, Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday evening for some strong to severe storms, southeastern Saskatchewan into southern and central Manitoba. Now let's take this back out. We get into Thursday afternoon and evening. We're seeing things reload as this next trough, the next wave begins to blast into the region. So as we look at Thursday afternoon and evening, we're talking about central Alberta, taking this all the way back into parts of central and southern Saskatchewan. So this would be my area to watch here as we talk about Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening through this corridor. And then let's go ahead, let's talk about Friday. Taking this out another 24 hours. Here we go. Friday afternoon. Now we're talking about some high instability values. Now we're talking about more than 3,000 joules per kilogram, which is significant, especially across this region here. So as we talk about Friday afternoon and evening, a similar area here, you notice a theme. We're talking a lot about central Alberta. We're talking a lot about central and southern Saskatchewan. This is going to be my Friday area, and this has the potential to be a pretty volatile day. You start looking off to the right at the strong jet stream winds pushing into the area here associated with this upper level wave over the top of this strong area of instability. So there's going to be time for this to change. Of course, Eric will have an update Thursday, broad picture, and then I'll be back with a Friday Canada-specific forecast. So I would imagine Friday morning I'll have a lot to say about this unless something changes, because this could be somewhat of a significant severe weather day across central Alberta into central and southern Saskatchewan. Again, we're talking about Friday afternoon and Friday evening. Taking this out a bit further, let's head off into Saturday. Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening. Now the better instability values starting to follow this trough. Now you see the stronger upper level winds moving off to the east, pushing through parts of Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And the greatest instability during the day on Saturday now forecast to be across parts of central, southern Saskatchewan into a big chunk of Manitoba. And now we're getting off into the future now, 5 days into the future, so specifics are going to become less clear. But as we get into Sunday now, we're seeing this front really being kicked out of the area, seeing the instability values being pushed off to the east, and our upper level trough is beginning to swing through the area. And remember, on the backside, northwest flow bringing in cooler and less humid air, and that obviously leads to some big changes when we talk about instability. A big void there as we deal with a much different air mass, one that's not primed for severe storms, but boy, do we have a rough road to go through before we get there, with severe storms in the forecast here all the way Tuesday through Saturday across the Canadian prairies. Here's the outlook for today. This is from Environment Canada, and they're outlining that area that I talked about from central Alberta into central and southern Saskatchewan, maybe the corridor from Edmonton to Regina, going to be most on the lookout as we go through Tuesday afternoon and evening. But remember, a huge chunk from this area all the way over here going to be dealing with severe weather in the forecast all the way Tuesday through Saturday. And so this is something that we'll have to be watching for day by day, and we'll be talking about even as we do our update on Friday morning. So I just spent a lot of time on that. Let's kind of talk about things overall. This will be, not new news as we talk about the precipitation forecast, because I kind of already outlined the best area for precipitation, showers and storms and severe storms by looking at the instability in the upper level chart. So a bit of a backwards way of looking at things, but here you go, just as some verification as we head through the day Tuesday and Wednesday. The best chance for some storms is going to be anywhere from central Alberta into central and southern Saskatchewan with this early wave. Wednesday, remember we talked about this wave pushing into Manitoba. We have a chance for showers and storms there. Going to be chances for isolated storms along the front range here Wednesday afternoon and evening as our next upper level wave approaches. Coming into Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening, again, watching for scattered storms across this entire area. We'll be watching for severe storms in parts of central Alberta. As we get into Friday now, here comes the main upper level wave pushing through the region. Scattered storms continuing across the prairies even into Saturday. Sunday now, here's our more organized, the stronger, more organized area of low pressure with a front dragging off to the south from there. Maybe some scattered showers on the backside here as we go through the day on Sunday before we get into Monday and a very dry early next week. So there you go. Chances for showers and storms in the forecast really Tuesday through Saturday, perhaps even into Sunday, before we head towards a drier pattern during the next work week, starting around late Sunday into Monday and Tuesday, bringing precipitation to an end across the region. Now we'll go ahead and we'll loop out the total precipitation forecast from the European model, and then I'm going to pause it because I really want you to just capture the theme here. Now the southern prairies, remember I said if anyone's going to be dry, it's really these southern areas, southern Alberta into southern Saskatchewan, but you're not completely dry in this area. It's just more isolated by nature. So some folks are going to get downpours. A lot of folks will end up dry in this, but there will be storms. There are potentially some strong storms pushing through this region over the next 5 days. It's just the driest of the region here across the Canadian prairies over the next 5 to 6 days, but not completely bone dry. There will be storms sneaking through the area. Where there's more frequent, more widespread precipitation, going to be through this corridor here. Through central and northern Alberta, central and northern Saskatchewan, getting into a big chunk of Manitoba. But again, this isn't going to be a uniform swath of, a couple inches of rain, a couple 100 millimeters of rain. This is going to be patchy again with heavier corridors where thunderstorms do track, but certainly wider coverage than off to the south. We'll take a closer look region by region here in just a moment if you didn't capture that. The other thing I want to show is the forecast of dew points showing this much cooler air mass that comes in late in the week. Now, early on, dealing with the humid air mass, thunderstorms in the forecast, severe weather at times, Tuesday through Saturday. But then watch what happens here as this front comes through. We're all the way to Saturday now, Sunday, and then Monday. You really see this drier air really just start to push into the region. And again, bringing in a milder and less humid air mass by the time we get to next week. Precipitation forecast here for Alberta. We'll go ahead and we'll loop this out. You'll see the theme again, heavier precipitation kind of along and north of this line down here. Not completely dry. There will be isolated thunderstorms tracking through the area, but again, it's going to be most people missing out, other folks perhaps ending up with a downpour or two if you are lucky enough to get a storm. But in this region, more widespread daily chances for showers and storms, probably closer to a uniform coverage, but still not going to be just like a broad blanket with everyone getting the same lovely amounts of precipitation. Certainly not. The precipitation forecast, remember, we got a warmer week ahead as we deal with warm air in advance of these storm systems. High temperatures here for the day on Tuesday in the mid to upper 20s, low to mid 20s on the day, or for the day on Wednesday, with upper 20s to near 30 off to the south. Next surge of warmer air coming in now as we get into Thursday and Friday. You see the warmth creeping northward in advance of that approaching storm system. Again, this is going to be our very warm and unstable air mass that's going to fuel these showers and storms as we head through especially the later parts of the week. And then your Saturday high temperature is starting to see that cooler air come in on the backside, anywhere from the upper teens to near 20, with high temperatures in the 30s off to the south. Pivoting off to the east, we're looking at Saskatchewan and Manitoba now. Here's the same thing. We'll loop out the precipitation forecast, noticing that parts of southern and southwestern Saskatchewan drier overall, but again, you'll get isolated thunderstorms passing through this region as we go through the week, but it's going to be more isolated coverage across this area, more isolated to scattered coverage. North of that line, across central and northern Saskatchewan into Manitoba, more widespread, equal chances for precipitation, but again, there will be winners and losers in all of this, with corridors of heavier rain with the thunderstorms, and then perhaps some corridors of dryness where perhaps there are gaps between these storms. Again, it's not going to be a big blanket of rain. We're talking about summertime thunderstorms, and that means uneven distribution of precipitation. So let's go ahead, let's wrap this up with the high temperature forecast off to the east, talking about upper 20s across southern and central Saskatchewan and Manitoba for the day on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday. We're really going to start to warm up late in the week across this region. Here's your Friday high temperatures, and then Saturday, again, we've got Saturday. This is when we'll be talking about severe storms across this region, very warm and unstable, but cooler air already starting to sneak through on the backside of this front. As always, I forgot. I want to do something. I want to be kind of candid with you guys for a minute. Now, we've been doing these Canada regional forecasts for several months now, and it's been a learning experience for me. And it's hard for me not getting any feedback. I'm down here in Illinois. I'm in the Midwest. If I was to jump back off on one of these maps, I'm thousands of miles away. And so I've got all the maps and things that I can look at, but it's still a bit tricky to forecast the weather for a location that I'm not setting foot in. So with that being said, it's been a couple of months. If you've got any immediate feedback, there's just something you've been dying to tell me to show that I'm missing out on, it is maybe obvious to you or something you're curious about, I wanted to give some contact information for me so you could reach out. An email address here, andrew.pritchard@nutrien.com. You can leave a comment on the YouTube video here. I would love to hear from you. Don't be shy. I'm also on Twitter if you're into social media. I'm posting weather musings there all the time. I'd be happy to connect with you there. Take all your weather feedback and your weather photos from the Canadian prairies. I'm at Skydrama there on Twitter. Now we can do it. As always, Eric Snodgrass will have an in-depth look at the evolution of the next 1 to 2 weeks in our Thursday morning ag forecast video. And I'll have your next Canada regional forecast for you right here on Friday. Have a wonderful day.